So in our next section, starting now, we have the pleasure to host Rasmus from Sensohive, and we'll be discussing about concrete monitoring use case and success stories with Kryton. Thanks for joining us, Rasmus.
Thank you.
So I think we will just start with a short video.
Hey, good seeing you. Careful. Originally, we started making solutions for greenhouses. We found out that that market was not big enough for us, so we shifted into focusing on food monitoring. And a couple of years ago, we were contacted by different construction companies. They were asking if they could use some of our devices and sensors for casting into the concrete. One of the big values we provide together with Sigfox is the true remoteness. Basically, we can use our devices anywhere. It's just working out of the box.
I Danmark, der siger vi ikke mere er mindre eller mindre er mere. Vi siger less is more. So the first thing you have to do is that you have to secure the thermocouple before you cast the concrete. Then you connect the thermocouple to the transmitter. Then you leave it, you pour the concrete, and you go take your phone out, you start the monitoring, and then you can follow the concrete curing from anywhere.
Less is more. This is for your hair, and here we have some for your shoes.
Okay, so glamour.
Yes. You look great.
Yes.
Let's go in. So they store food here, but basically they produce food. Around 50% of the food safety documentation that you have to do is related to temperature monitoring. But here we put up some sensors,
Yes.
so they automatically monitor and measure the temperature, and they send the data. You don't need to manually go around. Everything is locked, so they save time, but they are also sure that everything is okay. Like the reason why we are using Sigfox is that it's low power, meaning that the batteries will last longer. And if we are somewhere where there's no coverage, we can easily put up an access station. It's the same no matter if we are here in Denmark or if we are in Sweden or Norway or wherever we go, we have the Sigfox connectivity.
That's right. Let's go back to the real world.
You're freezing?
Thanks to that, Rasmus.
You're welcome. It's always funny to see yourself on a video like this. Cool. So, hi everybody. My name is Rasmus, and I'm working as product manager for the company Sensohive. Today, I'm going to talk a bit about Maturix, which is our end-to-end solution targeted the concrete industry. And in Sensohive, in general, we make sensors, temperature and humidity sensors for different applications. And for a couple of years ago, we shifted over to focusing, as you saw in the video, a lot on concrete monitoring. And this product is known as Maturix. And as any good startup story, it all started in a room way too tiny with a lot of bright people. And last year, we got the best global star at the Sigfox Connect. That was amazing. And in September this year, 2 months ago, we got a 30% acquisition of our company by one of the world leaders within concrete technology. So it's a really, really funny ride. So construction is one of the biggest industry in the world, and concrete is used for almost any construction. Right now we're here in Singapore, and everything here is built of concrete. Some of the issues when you are building concrete is that it has a very high effect, the temperature, on how the curing is happening and how it's developing the strength. So if the temperatures are very high, you can get expansions and cracks and damages in the concrete. And on the other hand, if it's very cold, you can get like very slow curing, so you have to know, okay, when can we move on with the processes and so on. And for this, we developed Maturix. So it's a real-time remote concrete monitoring. This is how it works. We install a very inexpensive, very accurate thermocouple. It's a temperature sensor that you embed into the concrete. Then you connect our transmitters. And the transmitters, once the cables are connected, will send the data every 10 minutes to the Sigfox cloud. And then we have a web portal that is doing all the calculations automatically. It has a calibration curve, so not only are we able to tell what are the temperature, we're also able to give them the strength in real time, so they know when they can remove the formworks, when they can continue their processes and so on, way faster. And in construction, time is really money. Here's a picture of a temperature curve and the strength curve. So the higher the temperature, the faster the strength. And in construction, you need to know when can we move on. Obviously, some of the benefits are that you can optimize your schedules. You can save time. You don't have to manually go around and pick up the data. You reduce costs. Building is costly. You have a rental of cranes and stuff like that. You can lower that if you can optimize. And on the other hand, even though we are saving time, we also improve safety because we measure in the structure and we know how everything is going. We started with this product within precast 2.5 years ago. This is the biggest precast factory in Denmark. And they obtained some great values using this product. They still use it today. So right now in Denmark, they're monitoring in some of their hollow core slabs. They have increased their capacity and at the same time also reduced their waste. It's quite amazing. A year ago at the last Sigfox Connect, we took this to construction sites. And here's a case study where you can see this as well. So the red lines are the actual curing time that they used on a bridge project in Norway. And they simply just wanted to try out, okay, so if we implement this solution, what is the strength gonna, like the determination by the system gonna be compared to what we do today? And like they are able to save up on this specific project up to 34 days if they unleash everything. And let's say that they just use 20% of that potential. It equivalents to around 40,000 euros that they can save just on this specific project. So the return of investment is huge. And this is just based on the cost savings from labor and rental of equipment and stuff like that. The system also gives the real-time insight, makes the automatic documentation and all that stuff. And it's been a really exciting ride. We have some really good clients. We're talking with some of the biggest in the industry. We are in some of the accelerators of some of the biggest contractors, and it's going really well. And some time ago, we were contacted by this Canadian company called Kryton. So they are a world leader within innovative concrete technology. They make admixtures, like chemicals that you add to the concrete to give it better properties, like hardening it and so on. And they have this smart concrete brand. And they thought that our solution was very interesting. So in September, they acquired 30% of our startup. And it's really great. Just to give you a bit of background what they do. So their main product is an internal membrane that is waterproofing the concrete. And actually, this specific product has been used for the Marina Sands Bay out here. I think they use this product in more than 60,000 cubic meters of concrete to make it waterproof. Another product that they have under this smart concrete umbrella is known as HardSem, and it is an integrated hardening. So instead of putting, like you have concrete floors here, instead of going afterwards and putting hardening on the surface, it's integrated into the concrete, saving time. And then we have added Maturix to this smart concrete brand. So Kryton is looking into, okay, how can we, using sensors and monitoring, how can we build the structures of tomorrow? So we are kind of like the third leg into this. And their CEO is saying, yeah, that this acquisition is totally in line with their goal of helping contractors build more safely, more faster through innovation. And it's really exciting. Obviously for us, we are really interested in getting our product out there. So they have a huge distributor network and have started with exclusivity in North America. And we will be going to the World of Concrete fair together in February. And that can help us as Sensohive utilize our vision of like making it easy to obtain data using wireless sensors. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And now we're going to have a small chat. And after that, let's connect. We are in the booth right over there in the background. So if you want to talk and hear more, just come on over.
Thank you, Rasmus. That was pretty interesting. So you touched briefly the fact that you were doing all the things that concrete. So before we focus on concrete, can you share a bit more about the solution you developed for agriculture as well as the food industry?
Yeah, sure. So Sensohive was like created by some bright minds, like many other startups. And compared to like having a certain problem to fix, these guys just had a big passion for playing around with sensors and data. And then we looked around. Okay, so where can we use this? And in Denmark, we have some greenhouses where in a huge greenhouse as big as this room, they have one temperature sensor, like trying to tell how are the plants actually like growing. Are they at the right temperatures? Are they at the right humidity levels? Do they need any water? So we started by deploying sensors around this greenhouse to give them more insight. And it was just really tough to build a very big business case on this. Then we took the device and then sold it to like food monitoring instead. Today in Denmark, more than 50% of all documentation has to do with temperature. So you go around with a paper block like that you have, and you note down the temperature multiple times per day. It's very time consuming. The next step, going digital, is to do it on an iPad, right? Then you go around with an iPad and you type it, but it's still very manually labor intensive. So putting up sensors make all this automatic monitoring possible. Documentation, you lower the risk of something going wrong, less waste in case so, and yeah.
That is wonderful. But I don't know, does anyone in the audience have ever precast or cast concrete? No? Maybe not, right? So maybe can you tell us more about why the temperature is such a key element on the precast or cast of concrete?
Yeah, sure. So when you make concrete, it's a chemical process happens known as hydration. And so in the early age of concrete, within the first couple of hours or days, this chemistry happened when you mix together aggregates, cement, sand, water, so on. And then the concrete will start to settle. It will start to develop the strength needed. And temperature has a big effect on how that process, how fast that is going. To give you an example, if it's 20 degrees compared to if it's 35 degrees, if it's 35, it will take half the time compared to at 20 degrees. And the opposite, if it's only 10 degrees, it will take double the time to obtain the same amount of strength. So temperature has a huge effect on how fast is it going. And obviously you would like it to go faster, because then you can accelerate. But you don't want it to go too fast, because then you have this issue where you might have too big differences in temperature between the core and the edge. And then you can, the concrete can make some cracks and stuff. And that can cause issues and damages. So you don't really want that.
And so what you would describe for people in the audience today, what is a unique value proposition of your solution? Something they can keep in mind for the next few months?
Yeah, so one of the biggest is obviously that you can optimize your time. So as you saw on some of the slides, not only are you able to make sure that you reduce waste, because you can say, okay, I'm not going to take out, for example, in the precast case, I'm not going to demold any elements before I'm sure that it's done. So that's also increasing safety, because you're not pulling out any elements before it's actually done. But on the other hand, if everything the production is working as it should, the temperature is good, the concrete that you pour in fluid state is the right temperature, then it might take less time than what you normally set as your standards. Because usually within this, you set some standards times and then you use those for all of them, but that's not the case. Conditions varies, and the only way to know exactly what is going on is to monitor inside the concrete.
So do you monitor mostly at the middle or on the side? Where do you go in a large piece of concrete?
Yeah, so in a very large, let's say, if you're casting on site on a construction, you in many cases monitor in the core and in the edge, because you don't want a too big temperature difference. For precast products like produced in a factory, usually you measure at the most critical point, because if that point, the coldest spot, it has the slowest strength development. So if that is cured enough, then you know that the rest of the element is done as well. So you're usually going to place it in the worst case scenario. And even though they do that, they can, gain up to like 20-30% of efficiency, and added production, added money, and so on.
So you mentioned briefly the partial acquisition from Kryton. Can you tell us more about that and how that will benefit your clients?
Yeah, so obviously we are right now on this stage of being between a startup, we are around 5 years old, and between a scale-up or a real company, so to say. And it's a really exciting ride. And obviously for us, it's really interesting to get a world leader within concrete technology on board. So our clients will, benefit from this, that we can accelerate our developments. It will be, very much in line with also what, Kryton has. They have the insights. They have been in this industry for several years. So they know what the market is requesting in terms of real-time monitoring solutions. And I do believe that them being on board, having this partial acquisition, will make it possible for us to deliver new innovations to our clients even faster than we do today.
And they also have worked on some flagship project, right? So Kryton was involved with Marina Bay Sand. So you're maybe one of the very few startups in a way that indirectly have been involved in that building. Do you have any other flagship buildings or project you can share with us?
Yeah, so right now we got the Copenhagen Metro. They are gonna do a lot of monitoring, under Earth, and getting real-time data under Earth is a bit complicated. Using GSM would be a bit tough. Then you could use Wi-Fi. You would have to put up a lot of repeaters for that. The Sigfox connectivity gives us great advantages there. So the Copenhagen Metro is a really exciting project. Then also in Scandinavia, in Gothenburg, they're currently building the largest high-rise building of Scandinavia, and we are gonna monitor in that, or we actually do it right now. But yeah, and then we have a lot of other really interesting projects coming in as we speak.
So I think you're maybe the first person here, at least on that stage today, to monitor under Earth. So how deep can you go? Like, is it like 20, 50, 100 meters, 200? Or how deep can you go?
Good question. So we use the thermocouples. So the thing that goes into the concrete is, usually longer, and they can be up to plus 10 meters if needed. And then we have the transmitters outside the concrete, and that's kind of the smart thing, because they can be placed at a place where they have direct sight or ideal conditions to then send to either a repeater or a micro base station. So it's hard to tell exactly how many meters under Earth, but if we can create coverage downstairs, down under, yeah, we can deploy this solution in tunnels.
Great. So we have a few minutes left. Will you have any question from the audience about concrete, sensors, and temperature? No? So maybe Rasmus, one last thing to add to close that discussion?
No, I just want you to come by if you're interested. If you know anyone working with concrete or construction, or are interested in any of our other devices, feel free to come over to our booth and let's have a talk.
So on M8, just behind us, you can talk to Rasmus and his team. So thank you very much. Thank you, Rasmus.